Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 17 of Moestories. And today I kind of wanted to give you some background into kind of who I am today and how I used to be about 20 years ago when I first moved up to Montreal. For the first couple of months of moving up to Montreal, I was basically kind of on the streets. I didn't have too much money and I was in the city for the first time. I will get more into that story eventually because that is an interesting story of how and I think I did talk about that a couple of times in a couple of previous Most Stories episodes that I did of my trip to Montreal and things that happened. Well, for the first couple of months, I was living in men's shelters and I was trying to get on welfare. I mean, I didn't have, excuse me, I didn't have a job or anything. And I don't know, I thought I was kind of down a little bit. Not going through a depression exactly, but I had opinions and feelings about things and I've always been a to let you know, I've always been kind of a nice guy. Tried to get along and be be a good person and to treat people with as consideration, dignity, and respect as much as I could. But every once in a while, I would have access to a computer and stuff and be able to print out certain like while I was doing letters for like trying to do resumes up and that, I would also write these little kind of things that I would be able to share with people, like just strangers and that. Like I would make these kind of flyers in a sense and leave them places. I would make like several copies. Like I would, I would make photocopies of these, but these are the original. Now, to show you, I have a couple of them. Sometimes I would put them in yellow or try to. These are things that I written for people, for other people to read here and there, and some of these were for my own personal. Now, do how do I feel about these today? Well, the sentiment is the same, okay? I still kind of feel the same way today as I did when I wrote these, although you'll see when I read these out to you that they are a bit naive and they kind of reflected the way I felt and saw the world at that time. I don't necessarily exactly see it the same way as I did, but the core sentimentality is the same. They may seem a little corny, and you'll see what I mean when I start reading these, okay? And then I believe these are in the order that I have written them. I want to get my reading glasses so I can see this a little bit better. So the first one I'm going to read, and bear with me because this is kind of interesting. Now, it says, "Dear friends, in my experience and opinion, I feel personally that if humanity honestly understood what it meant to be, what it means to have true, unconditional love and freedom for the human race, we could eliminate war, crime, poverty, and homelessness today. The way I see it, a more accurate definition of crime would be any action which harms any member of the human race physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. Look at all the laws that protect and support the system which values status and image over the human condition. If we all could treat others, only treat others with consideration, dignity, and respect peacefully, without violence or hostility, we could stop this corporate mafia mentality which practices a form of legalized crime. Simply, the concept of having to contribute to this so called society is dehumanizing. Disappointingly, humanity has given away its mind and its responsibility to those in a position of power who wish to control and dominate the human race. People will demand to have their freedoms taken away for the promise of being protected from what they have been manipulated to fear. The police, security agencies, and the military are not necessary. All the crime, violence, and terrorism on the planet are created by lack of love for ourselves and others. Those who fight violence with violence will create more violence. Violence creates fear. Fear creates control. If you believe you are free, how does one convince you that you are not? Look up the definition of love and freedom in the dictionary for yourself and then try to convince yourself that we live by these fundamental definitions. This is all we need to understand. At the core of everyone, we are pure love, and we have the ability to change the world for the better. We live in a world of plenty and have the technology today to create a positive difference to our global community. But the real value and wealth of the world are kept from us. 7% of the world population owns 84% of the world's wealth. There are 6 billion at the time, 6 billion people on this planet. There is absolutely no reason for anyone to be cold, hungry, homeless, or in poverty. Our financial system is designed on purpose through advertising so we can borrow money with interest to buy things we don't need. Food, for example, should never need an expiration date. Look at everything a person cannot do without money, and I will show you repression. Repression will always lead to violence and hostility. We must eliminate all non essentials and all forms of negativity to heal ourselves and the planet. We must abolish all demands and impositions so that we can begin to experience true love and freedom and feel at peace. To be aware of what we are. So if we listen to our hearts and open our minds, the suffering in the world will become unbearable until we do something about it. We, the majority, outnumber those who control the world, and those few who control the world cannot do that unless we let them. I love all my brothers and sisters. Causing harm to anyone is unthinkable. Everything on this planet belongs to everyone. And if we learn to share the planet equally, we would never have to go without. When are we going to learn our lesson and stop this madness? If for any reason you disagree with the above, please try to prove me wrong. If not, please join me, make lots of copies, and pass them to the ones you love. Thank you for your time and attention. With love and friendship, Morris A. Gautreaux. Yeah, that's my middle initial A. So yeah, that was just one of them that I had written, and left out for people to find and see, just to try to spread a message of positivity. Now, yeah, okay, looking back at it now, I feel a little bit, it was a little bit naive. But like I said, the sentimentality of what I felt hopefully was shine through that. Now, again, this is pretty much some of the same, but a little bit different in the wording of it. I'm not going to read this last part here because I kind of I don't want people to say, "Oh, what you?" Well, maybe. Well, we'll see when I get to it. Okay. This one is to whom it may concern. There is an important message that humanity needs to hear. If, and a big if, you really love your family and especially your children and their mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being, then you need to read and spread this message now. This may not be easy for you, mostly if you are programmed or dependent on your present belief system, or you feel you cannot cope emotionally with what is really happening in the world. then humanity, including your children's future, will suffer from the centralized control of global politics, business, banking, military, and media to enslave every man, woman, and child on this planet with a world government, army, central bank, and currency underpinned by a microchip population. Now this is kind of quoted, you know, uh, not verbatim exactly, but paraphrased from somebody. Which when I get to the bottom, now I didn't believe everything from this author that I'm kind of paraphrasing, especially nowadays. Now that but I I could see a lot of the positive information he was trying to give, and I was trying to relay just the positive aspects of what I had been reading at the time. So, okay, if you think that sounds fantastic and you think you are free, then you are for a rude awakening. If you and the rest of the humanity do nothing, then all the events of Nazi Germany will look like a picnic. For every action or non action, there is a consequence. When we give our minds, hearts, and responsibilities away, we give our lives away, and we end up giving the world away. This is precisely what we have been doing throughout known human history. This is why the few have always controlled the masses. Today, the few are manipulating the entire planet because of the globalization of business, banking, and communications. The foundation of that control has always been the same: keep the people in ignorance, fear, and at war with each other. Divide, rule, and conquer while you keep important information or knowledge to yourself. All that I'm asking for you is to understand that all I want is the true, unconditional freedom, in every sense of the word free, of the entire human race. To stop the senseless violence, poverty, and starvation which is crucifying our fellow civilization. Humanity is mind controlled and only slightly more conscious than your average zombie. You must put away your beliefs, preconceived notions, and judgments and open your hearts and minds to love, wisdom, and understanding. Just by following a few simple suggestions can you help yourself to find the right path. And you'll see there's a few suggestions here. So, one is treat people the way you want to be treated, with consideration, dignity, and respect. Two, make a positive difference to your global community through love, wisdom, and understanding. That second part I kind of got from Maynard James Keenan from Tool. He said something similar to that at the end of a concert at the first time I ever saw them live, and it blew my mind. It blew me away. Help the human condition to evolve. We must work towards that which benefits all of humanity. Eliminate all forms of negativity. This one is difficult, but it shouldn't be. Ensure true freedom in every sense and definition of the word for you, your loved ones, and the entire planet. And last one, just be yourself. Uniquely individual. Because individuality is hard to control. When you're all the same carbon copies of each other, when you try to be in a group and try to be all the same, that makes you easier to control. Now, I will admit where I got most of this from at the time was that from a book called The Biggest Secret by David Icke. Now, that's a controversial name and very divisive, and yeah, I don't believe everything that he wrote or anything, but when I read that book, I was mainly seeing some of just the positive messages that he was getting at. So much of that conspiracy theory stuff I wasn't really buying into. I kept an open mind to the possibility of if that was true, what would that really mean, and is that something we want in our lives and that. But so yeah, I was basically oh yes, because where I had bought that book, and it was at the library, the Librairie Nouvelle Age on Saint Denis. That was where that's where I had gotten it. Yeah. So I'm not going to go too much into that because we all know how how most people feel about David Icke and how I'm not saying I believe in what he was writing. I was just taking all that positive messages from that to make a better, to try to promote how I taking the things that I agreed with, the positive stuff, and trying to educate people with that. Hopefully, spreading a message of love and peace and understanding. There's a couple more little things here. It won't take much longer. Now, again, I tried again to try to send a message out to people. Some of this may repeat some of the stuff I've already talked about. But here again, I go, dear friend, I know this may be hard to swallow. It's hard for me to write about, but there is a serious problem in the world, and humanity has not awakened to the potential horrors that we could be facing. We have been recently learning about the true. I have been recently learning about the true nature of reality and the programming that is making society think and act like a robot, without creativity or original thoughts of their own. If you think that you are free, how does one convince you that you are not? How does one fight a legalized crime? And that was a term I came up with a long time ago, of legalized crime that people in power do against humanity, that is legal. They could say, well, the courts support me, and we make these laws, and to not to protect humanity, but to protect their systems. This is, however, only my opinion. But let me ask you this: what if tomorrow everyone made an agreement to look up the true meaning of the words free and freedom with its synonyms in the dictionary, and put it to a global vote to make that a world law? Again, that was kind of a naive notion I was trying to come up with. What would you sacrifice to make that possible, knowing that everything you do from that time forward has to benefit everyone, everywhere, all the time? Wouldn't that solve a lot of problems? Question mark. Wouldn't that make a positive difference to our global community instead of being manipulated, conditioned, and or programmed, all simply by fear? So our children won't have to suffer in the near future because of all we have, because we all have bills to pay. I hope not. I don't need we don't need to be suffering. I hope we can find real peace instead of democracy, which is nothing more than the illusion of freedom. We all sorry, we need to love each other unconditionally and treat each other the way you want to be treated, with consideration, dignity, and respect. Also, using the dictionary definitions. I know we can make all that a reality just by following your heart and stop listening to your heads so much for a little while, okay? Feel about it, not think about it, feel about it. Now, I say, just take a good look at it for yourself. And I went and wrote down the dictionary definition of free and freedom. And just hear this out, and I put the whole thing down. Now, the dictionary edition of free would go, number one, not under another's control, having liberty, able to do, act, and think as one pleases. 2. Showing liberty, caused by liberty. 3. Not held back, fastened, or shut up, release, loose. 4. Not hindered. 5. Clear of or from, exempt from, not marred or bothered by. The emphasis is mine, of course. 6. Allow, permitted. 7. Clear, open. 8. Open to all. 9. Without cost or payment. 10. Without paying a tax or duty. 11. Generous. 12. Giving or using much. 13. Abundant. 14. Not following rules, forms, or words. Exactly. Not strict. 15. Saying what one thinks. Being frank. And 16. Not restrained enough by manners or morals. See, well, it's iffy, but the emphasis is being, of being a free spirit, not being controlled. Now, I go with the definition of freedom on the bottom here, which is a noun. The free would be an adjective, and the freedom is a noun. And that's where it kind of makes more of a difference. Freedom, 1, the state or condition of being free. 2, the condition of not being under another's control. Power to do, say, or think as one pleases. Liberty. 3, free use. 4, lack of restraint, frankness. And 5, ease of movement or action. So I put freedom, liberty, and independence equals not being under the rule or control of another. So freedom emphasizes the power to make one's own laws, imposes one's own restraints, and controls one's own lives. Liberty emphasizes the right or power to do as one pleases without restraint. And independence emphasizes the power to stand alone, not subject to or dependent on someone or something else. Now, I continue to say, where did we go wrong? I feel that the definitions above are not only possible to attain for the benefit of all humanity, but it is necessary for the natural development and evolution of all the races on Earth. I feel that democracy is the illusion of freedom, a retarded example of giving up our natural rights and power to a higher force that have repeatedly become corrupted and acted against the true wishes of its people, the ones they have sworn to protect and serve. Please look carefully at the truth. Look closely at the real meaning of these words. Can we honestly believe that they have our best interest at heart? Break free from the programming and manipulation. Be conscientious. Treat everyone with consideration, dignity, and respect. Utopia can be possible within our lifetime. It all starts with us, from within and not without. A friend for everyone, Morris A. Gautreaux. So yeah, these were always my attempts to try to spread a message of peace, love, and understanding. Now, these were kind of written for myself in some ways, but again, these are these are 20 concepts and ideas to live by. And so here in this order, so 1, treat others the way you want to be treated. 2, make a positive difference to the global community. 3, love, wisdom, and understanding is the key to true freedom. 4, knowledge is useless without understanding. That was one of my favorite expressions that I made up a long time ago. To make a distinction between what knowledge is and understanding. To elaborate on that just a little bit, knowledge is the accumulated information that one learns. That it's just basically cold hard facts. But understanding, okay, is under is opening yourself up to the more broader, the bigger definition and meaning of a concept rather than just strictly like the example I would always use is that how police officers, like the law, they know the law. They have so much knowledge about the law, and they use it to their advantage, but they have no understanding of how it really applies to humanity, and to use it properly, and to be able to yeah, just that wider aspect of that of understanding, rather than just a cold plain I know the law, but I don't understand a human being, what their hearts and minds are really going through. That's kind of how I felt at that time, and in some ways I still kind of believe in that. So the next one, number 5, and this was one of my favorite ones, and this is kind of okay. The thinking that guides your intelligence is much more important than the amount of intelligence you may or may not have. That one still kind of goes into the knowledge is useless without understanding. But let me repeat that. The thinking that guides your intelligence is much more important than the amount of intelligence you may or may not have. Okay, number 6. We must be taught how to learn instead of what to learn. Number 7. Question everything. Always be inquisitive. Always question everything. Number 8. Never assume anything. Number 9. Never confuse appearances with ability. And that's a big one, Never think that somebody who's like disabled or anything, that they can't do what you think they do. Never confuse appearances with ability. I think that was a good one. Number 10. Eliminate all negativity. Number 11. Eliminate all non-essentials. Number 12. Needs before wants. Number 13. Function before form. Number 14. And I don't know how much I still believe in this one, but here it goes. The lowest common denominator is always the correct answer. I kind of believed that at the time, and I still kind of believe that. Okay, number 15. Truth and honesty is the prime objective. Number 16. Non-interference is the prime directive. And I having in parentheses taken from Star Trek, because I still kind of believe that's true. Even today, that you don't want to interfere in certain things. You just want to, yeah. Number 17. You cannot control an individual. Kind of going what I said in the previous messages. 18. In order for anything to function properly, it needs to be aligned, organized, and stable. Number 19, which I kind of also borrow from Star Trek, but it's a concept that goes it's way before Star Trek. But it's absolute power corrupts absolutely. And then 20, the last one, just because something works doesn't make it right. So, yeah. Now, again, was I naive to write this stuff down like that? Was I naive to believe that this was the truth in that? Maybe some of it. But again, I want to stress that it's the sentimentality. It was the core essence of trying to understand. At the time when I wrote these, okay, here and there, it was my way of trying to understand why the world was being as cruel and heartless and as and frustrating. Sometimes frustrating to try to do something, to try to get a simple little freedom, just to get your own little part of the world that you can be safe and happy and productive and but I've always felt at that time that I was jumping through so many hoops, so many fiery hoops, trying to make ends meet, trying to, you know, to find my own peace of mind. And something I should have added to all that, is a message that I like to try to spread nowadays to everybody out there. And this is like my biggest tip that I can give to every human being out there is to never ever compromise your peace of mind for anything, because you will always end up losing both. That is the central message that I want to give to people: to love yourself, to be your own best friend, to be try to be the best, most caring, loving, and understanding human being that you can. I try to practice those concepts and ideas in my life every day. Sometimes it's not always easy. Sometimes you're so, situations and certain other people will try to force you into breaking that code of honor of yourself, to treat people like, yeah, again, treat people with consideration, dignity, and respect. I truly feel that. I truly believe that. I'm not necessarily a religious type of person. I don't believe in a lot of the things that the Bible tells me that should be true in that. But what I feel right here, right now, in the presence of being in the now, that is where you want to be. You don't want to be stuck in your head in psychological time, you know. Yeah, you want to be right here, right now, always trying to live in the present moment. And so I'm hoping that with what I read today and these messages of peace, love, and happiness and understanding, that you could be, that somehow you can find peace of mind for yourself, and hopefully heal yourselves from all these negative, you know, emotions that are being bombarded towards you every single day of your life, here and there. I think the world is set up with the media and advertising and the quick flashes of trying to tell you how to be, how to believe, how to live. We need to find true peace, and like I say before in in those notes, it all starts from within, not from without. So I'm just going to leave it here, because I can ramble on about this for hours, and I don't want to make this too much of a longer video. I think it's past the 33-minute mark already, 33. So I'm going to just leave it here and bid you all, please, and again, I always mean it when I say this, please be safe. Take care. I will see you on the flip side. And please, everybody, have a great day, evening, night, wherever you may be. Peace. Peace, peace, peace. I love you all. Everybody out there. Peace.